Good morning, I'm Pauline Verzosa. It is Monday, the 25th of May, and we're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. And now first on the agenda, the Bureau of Immigration says there is no record that Senator Bato de la Rosa recently left the country. This comes amid unconfirmed reports he fled to New York City, and the BI says only a lookout bulletin is in place and not a whole departure order. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police is urging De La Rosa to respect the law and cooperate with authorities. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said police units have been told to avoid unnecessary escalation if they encounter the senator. Now, the NBI says Senator Bato de la Rosa is presumed armed and dangerous, but his camp says that claim has no basis. More details in this report.
Nalungkot ako. At the same time, medyo masaya rin kasi may kasama na yung tatay ko doon, ni Reverend Katilapin. It's a bad joke. It's a bad joke.
That was the bad joke of Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte should his ally, Senator Bato de la Rosa, be arrested by the International Criminal Court. Baste made the remark after criticizing the government at the launch of the Rage Coalition for Mindanao in Davao City.
Tingnan yung nangyari sa Senate. Nagputukan. Gusto na naman nila kunin si Bato, ipadala doon sa ICC.
De la Rosa has been considered a fugitive, and according to the NBI, he is presumed to be armed and dangerous.
Ang presumption namin lagi is armado yan. It's one of the major concern kasi nga galing siya sa law enforcement, so he knows how the law enforcement officers behave, kung paano siya itatrack or hahanapin.
In a statement, Attorney Israelito Torion said there is no factual basis to characterize the senator as armed and dangerous. Torion also insisted that De La Rosa has not violated the law. He added that no local court has issued an arrest warrant against the senator and argued that the ICC arrest warrant cannot be enforced on its own within Philippine territory. This despite the Department of Justice already ordering the enforcement of the ICC arrest warrant against the senator. De La Rosa's camp has also filed a motion for reconsideration after the Supreme Court denied their petition for a temporary restraining order or TRO against the ICC warrant of arrest.
We already filed the manifestation yesterday at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And Trade Center evacuation.
Informing the Supreme
Welcome
Court
to the Davao Convention and Trade Center evacuation. Familiarizing yourself with emergency exits and procedures can save lives in critical situations. This facility features multiple exit routes from the Grand Ball.
For now, the NBI has already deployed tracker teams to locate and arrest the senator. Authorities also warned that anyone who helps De La Rosa evade the arrest warrant may face legal liability.
It is Senator Padilla himself who confirmed na sa kanya sumakay, nakisakay sa kanya at ibinaba niya sa isang lugar. I think he's a responsible senator, responsible citizen na alam na niya na ngayon na dapat balagot sa batas.
Based on CCTV footage and the investigation, Senator Robin Padilla gave De La Rosa a ride out of the Senate premises before dawn on May 14, several hours after the shooting incident at the Senate. Padilla has admitted this. He said he dropped De La Rosa off in Makati where the senator was picked up by his own vehicle. But Padilla now says he no longer knows where De La Rosa is. Even Torion said he had no contact with his client.
The last time that I had contact with him was perhaps an hour or 30 minutes before he exited from the Senate. After that, no contact anymore. But I am in constant contact with the members of the family, always.
De La Rosa had earlier said he would not surrender to the ICC, but the NBI has this warning.
Eventually, the law will catch up with you and the law enforcers will get you kung saan ka man naroroon.
Well, House prosecutors say they are fully prepared for the upcoming impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte before the Senate Impeachment Court. Here's that report.
The House 11 panel prosecution team is ready, more than ready, 150% ready to face the impeachment court and present their evidences.
This was emphasized by House Prosecution Panel spokesperson and Lanao del Sur 1st District Representative Zia Alonto Adyong regarding the impending trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. The Senate has already convened as an impeachment court, and the actual trial may begin on July 6. According to Senator Tito Soto, the trial will initially be held every Monday through Wednesday starting at 2 p.m. However, after the SONA, proceedings are expected to accelerate. Mondays will be allotted for regular Senate sessions, while the impeachment trial will be conducted Tuesday through Thursdays starting at 3 p.m.
Sinusunod namin kung ano man ang alituntunin na i-adapt ng korte. Nirespeto namin ito at sa amin naman ay handa naman kami kung maski anong araw, maski anong oras o gaano kadalas yung magiging impeachment trial na yun naman ay desisyon ng ating Senado na natatayong impeachment court.
The House Prosecution Panel also believes that all senator judges should be physically present during the trial and voting proceedings. This comes after Senator Rodante Marcoleta proposed amending Senate rules to allow senators who are absent from the session to participate or vote online.
Because it is indispensable to arrive into a fair judgment for a senator on the merits of the case without having to physically evaluate and examine the evidences and to direct cross-examine witnesses who would be in the witness stand. This is not just an ordinary legislative function where pwede kang mag-Zoom o pwede kang mag-remotely vote. No? Ito, pinag-uusapan dito, accountability ng isang impeachable officers.
Political scientist Cleve Arguelles echoed the same sentiment.
It would be a disservice to their duty as senator judges, no? Kung hindi sila magpa-participate physically and fully doon sa impeachment trial. Kung yung ating mga kababayan nga ay sinasabi nila na hindi pa nila naiintindihan ng masyado yung ebidensya, kulang pa yung impormasyon nila, siguro yung expectation nila sa senator judge is that they have to be there to fully understand everything para magawa talaga nila yung duty nila to assess whether to convict or acquit the Vice President.
Adyong also added that at least 5 private prosecutors will voluntarily assist the House prosecution team. One of them is Attorney Lorna Capunan.
Naniniwala sila na ang pinanggagalingan nito ay ang konstitusyon. Sabi ko nga, lahat tayo stakeholders, mas lalo na ang legal community. Pag lawyer ka, talagang kailangan mo ring protektahan ang konstitusyon at make sure na talagang na-implement ng maayos ang ating mga batas.
And in other news, Senator Ping Lacson confirmed that another leadership change is in the works at the Senate. In an interview with Storycon, Lacson revealed that Senator Sherwin Gatchalian has emerged as a possible compromise candidate for Senate President, who may be acceptable to both the minority bloc and some members of the majority. He also admitted that there were times when he considered stepping down from his post, citing concerns over the current state of the chamber. According to Lacson, the Senate has traditionally been regarded as the institution that provides checks and balances on the lower chamber.
Yung possible change of leadership sa Senate. Dahil sobrang gulpi yung Senado ngayon as an institution. Wala bang possibility na magkaroon ng pagbabago next week?
There's always a possibility. Kasi noon, lilima lang kami. Naging Senate President si Tito Sen Eh ngayon, 11 kami. Dati, siyam lamang sila, 15 kami. Pero napalitan si Tito Sen. So, lahat possible And this much I can say, yung pagpapalit ng liderato in this present situation, it's in the works. Bago lang kami magkakasama kasi dati naman, di ba, although dati naman magkakasama na kami kay Tito Sen, di ba? Pero before that, yung iba sa kanila nandun kay Senator Chise. So, hindi pa kami ganong katagal magkakasama, unlike yung mga nasa 19th Congress na nag-abot-abot sila. Kami, mga bagong salta kami ulit So, ang aming matigas na posisyon, sasabihin ko na ito, no? Nagkaisa-isa kami kasi sa tingin namin, ako mismo nag-propose ito, medyo untenable yung position ni Tito Sen. At he also has acknowledged this. So, naging compromise, ang aming bet na maging Senate President, si Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, who may be acceptable to all 11. Acceptable na siya sa aming 11, sa aming 10, no? 11 kami na steadfast na kami rito. Hindi na ito mababali.
Don't go away. We will be back with more stories after this break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning and welcome back. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and we give you the context behind the headlines. The NBI says more ICC arrest warrants may be coming against the or other alleged co-perpetrators in the Duterte drug war case. NBI Director Melvin Matibag says they have information that several more individuals may be covered by new warrants. He did not give details but says the NBI is ready if ordered to enforce them. Meanwhile, former President Rodrigo Duterte will remain detained in The Hague. The ICC trial chamber rejected his bid for release, citing flight risk, his resources and contacts, and his refusal to recognize the court's jurisdiction. The court also said Duterte's health condition does not justify modifying his detention. And joining us this morning is Attorney Cristina Conti, an ICC Assistant to Counsel, to help us understand the developments in the International Court. Good morning, Attorney Conti, and welcome back to Morning Matters.
Good morning.
All right, first of all, Attorney, gaano po ba ka-significant itong panibagong statement coming from the NBI saying that more ICC warrants could be potentially coming?
Well, that's news to me that warrants are potentially coming. The fact that there will be warrants is known because we have 8 names, or we used to have 8 names, now it's 7 names of those without warrants. But that they are forthcoming, this is new from the Philippine government, that they're kind of admitting that the warrants exist and that the warrants are coming. Previously, they have not, committed to anything, especially as the issue of confidentiality of warrants is under question. But there's a mix of opinions as to that. Either you have a secret warrant and enforce it, or not have a secret warrant, just announce it, but no arrests are enforced. So we're looking forward to new arrests made. And clearly, we're going to start with a list of 8 co-perpetrators of Duterte.
But based on your knowledge, Attorney, and on the jurisprudence of the ICC, do all co-perpetrators usually receive arrest warrants for their role in the crime?
So no, in the ICC, I think the average would be about 6 cases open per investigation. So the investigation is into the war on drugs in the Philippines. 6 cases could mean 6 accused or up to 7 or 8. It really depends on what the evidence before the ICC says. If the evidence says all of them are equally liable, at this point, this is the mode of perpetration is different from conspiracy, which we know of in the Philippines. Because with conspiracy, the act of one is the act of all. But what the ICC did is that identify the individual criminal liabilities of Duterte and then later on of Bato de la Rosa. So we're looking forward as to how these people contributed to what the ICC says is the common plan. Ang siste ay baka yung isa sa operations lang, yung isa sa pera lang, yung isa sa quota system. So they could have, varying degrees of participation. But the ICC will only try those they believe to have the most responsibility.
And so, Attorney, if more warrants are issued by the ICC, from the ICC, what happens next? And of course, there is that question if Philippine authorities can enforce this ICC arrest warrant even without a local court.
Well, let's get that off the table already. Yes, the Philippines has to recognize the ICC warrant as part of the law of the land. We have clearly crimes against humanity is a crime in the Philippines. Walang tatanggi dyan. We have RA 9851. Universally, in 125 countries, it is also a crime. The warrant is issued by a court. Yes, the Philippines recognizes the ICC. It's just that at this point, we're not a member. But according to the decision, as regards the jurisdiction question, did the ICC have jurisdiction over us before? Yes, when we were a member. And when we withdrew, there was a particular provision that retained jurisdiction when an ICC investigation has already been opened. Kaya po para sa nalilito, bago kasi tayo, nung yung mismong kasulatan patungkol sa pag-alis, nakalagay doon na kapag aalis ka, pero pag may nabuksan ng investigation, taken ka na dyan. You are already committed to it. And therefore, warrants in regard to the ICC investigation into the war on drugs during the time of Duterte are and have to be recognized as valid by the Philippines.
Kumbaga, pasok pa rin siya, attorney, dun sa ating residual obligations na tinatawag. Pero attorney, in the case of Senator Bato de la Rosa, the DOJ has already tagged him as a fugitive from justice. But his lawyer, attorney Jimmy Bondoc, argued that how can he be a fugitive when wala pa namang kaso locally here in the Philippines? He says there can't even be cases of harboring a fugitive, aiding, abetting, or yung obstruction because, as he mentioned, wala nga raw pong kaso dito sa Pilipinas. How strong is that legal argument, attorney?
I think it will fail in the sense that there is a case, there are proceedings opened in the ICC. It's just that they refuse to recognize it. So the cases, the warrant exist. It's just a question of enforcement or validity here in the Philippines. One, if there's an international or even a foreign case, all it would take is to go to a local court to have that situation, that condition, recognized. In the case of foreign warrants, you would have to prove before the court that there is a law criminalizing this act, that he has been issued a warrant, and that this law is not incompatible with Philippine law. Parang ganon. Pupunta ka sa local court kasi titingnan natin kung swak ba sa Philippine law. What I can say is crimes against humanity is clearly accepted as a crime by the Philippines. It's very easy. And so their quote-unquote defense is actually a challenge. What if someone does file? But then on the other hand, there is this principled position that yes, an ICC warrant is valid in the Philippines. I would say that the Supreme Court resolution that they are waiting for, so today the Supreme Court will release the resolution, which we already know the dispositive of. Ang sabi po nung Friday nung Supreme Court, denied ang TRO, ngayong pong araw lalabas yung buong dokumento. Wala daw po pang lalabas na patungkol sa main arguments o yung sinasabi nila valid ba o hindi yung ICC warrant. That one, I think the Supreme Court will see our obligations under the Rome Statute. And with that, the Rome Statute says any question about the validity of the warrant or the jurisdiction of the ICC after a warrant has been issued goes to the ICC. If we had questions about the Rome Statute itself, about the law, kumbaga, they should have filed that before the law was signed, before the Senate concurred it in 2011.
Well, attorney, you also warned that the allies of Senator Bato de la Rosa, including Senator Robin Padilla, could face scrutiny from the ICC for allegedly helping Senator Bato evade this arrest warrant. Walk us through why and how Article 70 of the Rome Statute applies to this situation.
All right, I'd just like to clarify that there are provisions that seem to be similar between the Philippines, such as obstruction of justice, which is found in a presidential decree, and offenses against the administration of justice in the ICC under Article 70. But as to the arrest processes are governed or left to the national states. So yung bansa po natin ang magpapasya or ang mapagpasya kung paano ang proseso ng pag-aresto. Matatagpuan po natin sa batas yan. It is governed by our rules of court, Rule 113. It is governed by our penal code, civil code, and so forth. As to the harboring a fugitive or allowing a fugitive to evade prosecution, that is covered by our domestic law on obstruction of justice. There are penalties there. In a similar manner, because the ICC does not look at or does not enforce the arrest, what they do is conduct trial. And so they have similar provisions, similar sounding provisions under Article 70, but pertain to the ongoing or pendency of trial. So to be clear, Senator Robin Padilla right now has no liability under Article 70 because there is no trial against Bato de la Rosa. But these kinds of acts, trying to helping a criminal escape arrest, and later on, if this person is arrested, making the evidence scarce or talking to witnesses, bribing witnesses foremost, those are the crimes covered by Article 70. Article 70 talks about these kinds of obstruction during trial. Obstruction of justice in the Philippines could cover crimes that pertain to evading arrest.
Attorney, what are the penalties for obstruction of justice?
I have to check again, but it's
Okay.
very limited. In fact,
Okay.
with obstruction of justice, it could still be covered by parliamentary immunity, which is why, on the part of the victims, it's secondary on their priorities. The prosecution of those enabled Bato de la Rosa. At this point, the priority should be the arrest and eventual surrender of Bato de la Rosa to the ICC. For us, there is no case before the ICC against Bato de la Rosa if he does not show up or he is not in custody. That is clearly within the rules. There will be no trial in absentia. And so we ask everybody to please cooperate with the current manhunt and, if possible, give up Senator De La Rosa alive to Philippine law enforcement officials.
Well, over the weekend, Attorney, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano argued that former President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs was actually a pro-life campaign dahil pumapatay ang drugs, ang droga. What was your initial reaction upon hearing that? Because even Cardinal David pointed out and criticized Senator Cayetano's statements. And he said that these statements can actually amount to instigation of crimes against humanity under Article 25 of the Rome Statute because these kinds of words are not covered by free speech. Do you agree with that, Attorney?
To some extent, yes. I was so horrified when I read that because, well, one, it is consistent with Senator Alan Peter Cayetano's previous positions. He served as foreign minister. He was foreign secretary at one point during Duterte's term. After he ran and lost as vice president during that time, he went on a television show, and when interviewed, he said, yes, all of those killed in police operations are drug addicts and criminals. He was so passionate about this war on drugs that this is not new or not surprising, but it is horrifying because he does not understand how it happened on the ground. First, please understand that we are also against drugs. We do not like drugs, but the way that the government previously addressed this was terrible, incompetent. In fact, the war on drugs was won by drugs. At the end of this, there were still drugs coming into the country, most of which were being protected by the police. That it's just that the trade, apparently, according to the Quadcom, the trade was concentrated on a few Duterte-backed drug lords. So maybe that was the entire point of the war on drugs. But how it happened in the communities was that the police started targeting quote unquote drug addicts, those who were maybe really drug addicts but not proven in court or not proven in any verifiable way. But also they targeted innocent individuals. Please do not discount the fact that the war on drugs was an indiscriminate attack on the poor. There was no prior vetting of those drug lists. There was no verification as to the information taken in by the police. And so while we technically hate drugs, we should not hate the drug addicts per se. They are entitled to some sort of relief in the form of rehabilitation as provided in the law. That's what the law says. And so to automatically equate these drug addicts to the criminality committed in our jurisdiction based on anecdotal evidence is just so arbitrary. We need to address the problem. If the problem is drugs, and if they say that the war on drugs was successful in that manner, why do we still have 1.4 million drug addicts today? It's because the supply is still there.
And attorney, when it comes to the case of former President Rodrigo Duterte, well, the ICC has upheld his detention, which means he will remain in The Hague for the time being. They also cited a higher risk for absconding. Attorney, what do you think the court saw for them to say that the flight risk is now higher when it comes to the former president?
Well, one, he himself said, I do not recognize the jurisdiction of this court. And so obviously, logically, when someone says that, upon interim release or temporary release, this person is unlikely to submit himself before a court he does not recognize. And to note, the court also noted that this has been previously pointed out, he has powerful connections, he has supporters who can enable him to evade accountability. And I point out here that the assumption of Alan Peter Cayetano of the Senate presidency adds to that. He is a powerful ally, and the way that he's defending the war on drugs now on public air with his position really allows Duterte or the ICC to see that Duterte has all these powerful connections, and therefore the continued detention is still necessary.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning and for sharing all your insights. That was Attorney Cristina Conti, an ICC Assistant to Counsel. Thank you very much, Attorney.
Thank you, Ingat.
Do stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Search and rescue operations continue following the collapse of a 9-story commercial building under construction in Angeles City, Pampanga. The Angeles City Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office said at least 19 individuals have already been rescued, including several workers who were brought to safety and are now in stable condition. Meanwhile, authorities estimate that at least 20 people may still be trapped under the rubble. The cause of the collapse has yet to be determined.
Meron sila naririnig pong boses. Humihingi ng tulong po. Marami po po. Hindi natin ma-determine kung gaano karami, no? Kaya medyo malalaman din natin. Kaya nga, ang gusto natin, ma-inventaryo po talaga yung mga tao, no? Kasi wala yung logbook, no? Para malaman natin kung ilan.
Challenge dito, hindi lang sa search and rescue, pero challenge din to para naman hindi delikado at matrap yung mga rescuers natin. Siyempre, priority din natin yung safety ng mga rescuers natin, no? Na kailangan safe din sila.
As more travelers seek destinations that offer both convenience and experience, one township in Lapu-Lapu City is drawing attention for blending history, beaches, and modern city living all in one place. Mobile journalist Daniel Dayaw has this report.
From beaches to historical sites, Lapu-Lapu has long been a go-to destination. But some visitors are also spotting modern townships, and we're here to see why.
This is the Mactan New Town, a township in Lapu-Lapu City connecting beaches, historical landmarks, and urban life. So for some locals, it's become a place to slow down from day to night.
I work around Mactan New Town, so I regularly go here. So it's a good place to be. It's very simple, but it's nice enough for you to enjoy yourself. Very convenient in a lot of ways.
We prefer to be here than IT Park because it's less crowded and the cafes are near.
The people just walking, there are also like streets out there, you can just jog everywhere. Yeah, actually I can compare this to BGC as well.
While for visitors, the experience goes beyond location, with convenience and interactions also shaping their stay.
I'm surprised for some place so close to the airport, how you still have such clean water. A swimmable beach, yes. Options to eat, friendly people. I've always loved my interactions with Filipinos.
And despite higher travel costs, some say experiences are still worth it, especially when it means exploring new places.
Kasi bukod sa marami siyang tourist spot destination, yung iba-ibang experience din na ma-encounter mo. Given na kasi yung pagtaas talaga eh. Pero kung gusto mo kasi, yung travel kasi minsan lang dumating sa buhay natin yan eh. Kaya as long as kaya pa, go travel and travel.
For now, local tourism officials say the tourism in the city starts to grow, with the township's accessibility among the factors in drawing more visitors.
There's more beyond Lapu-Lapu. We have here the Mactan Shrine, adjacent to the Cebu Mactan New Town. To be honest, after the ASEAN Summit, a lot of inquiries are coming. It's all here kasi eh.
Whether it's for the history, beaches, or simply a break from routine, some tourists say what makes a trip worth it is the chance to experience different areas of the town in a single visit. Kapatid Mobile Journal, Daniel Dayaw, we are One News.
Senator Amy Marcos is calling for the full truth to be revealed regarding alleged anomalous flood control projects. She urged Senator Alan Peter Cayetano and Senator Pia Cayetano to reopen the Blue Ribbon Committee investigation. Marcos also called to remove all cover-ups in the flood control corruption issue and push for the appearance of the 18 Marines, Zaldico, and the Bersamins. And now let's get more insights from former Senator Richard Gordon. Good morning, Senator. Welcome to Morning Matters. Good to have you here, sir.
Good morning, Pauline. Good morning, Matters indeed.
All right. Well, first of all, Senator, what is your reaction to the call to reopen the Blue Ribbon Committee investigation? And can we also get your thoughts on what you thought about the previous investigation under Senator Ping Lacson? Was it properly resolved, or do you think there were still critical issues that were left unresolved?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the first part. Reopen the what?
The Blue Ribbon Committee investigation into the flood control corruption. Over the weekend, Senator Amy Marcos called on SP Cayetano to open the investigation already and even call on the 18 Marines, Zaldico, and the Bersamins. What are your thoughts on that, Senator?
Well, these are just what we call moves to try and delay proceedings and try to confuse the public. You know, I'm sorry about Senator Marcos. I really am sorry the way she's been behaving for the last several years. She just makes a lot of noise, and I think it's important that we realize that we must focus on the investigation. For example, right now, the matter at hand is the impeachment, and the matter at hand is also the perhaps today the reorganization. And of course, the Blue Ribbon can open it anytime, but that will be questioned, especially if something happens this morning or this afternoon.
So for you, Senator, do you think a possible reopening of the flood control investigation in the Blue Ribbon Committee could just be used as a diversion on from other more important issues right now that the Senate is facing?
Well, they've been consistent so far. They created a ruckus in the Senate by not preventing Mr. De La Rosa from being arrested, which is already a violation of law. And then they created that false scenario where people are allegedly invading them or arresting them. And they will do all kinds of things to distract the public. The important thing is to concentrate on what is happening today. I think it has been proven that Cayetano or Senate President Cayetano, with all due respect, has not been reliable insofar as pursuing the right path because you can see that he allowed his friend, in fact, guided his friend to get back to the Senate, gave him protective custody, which is a fiction. And then 2 hours before Bato left, he was with Bato. And then not only that, he allowed his car to bring Bato. And later on, he allowed Robin Padilla to escort him outside the premises. And when they found out, there was no all-points bulletin issued to all policemen in the Metro Manila area to look out for the white car of Mr. Padilla. And at the same time, arrest these people on site.
Senator, do you agree that cases of obstruction of justice could be filed against the allies of Senator Bato de la Rosa? But at the same time, his lawyers argue that there's no violation was made by Senator de la Rosa because there's no case locally filed against him, and therefore there cannot be obstruction of justice, there cannot be cases of harboring a fugitive, and so on.
Well, all lawyers have their own arguments, pro and con, but I think there was a legitimate warrant of arrest issued. There was a reasonable ground to believe that the NBI was doing their things in performance of duty, and therefore they have the presumption of fulfillment of duty, and at the same time, people had grounds to believe that the accusations of Mr. Bato de la Rosa in hiding for 20 weeks, is it? And then showing up just for the vote. I think that really will show that all these people are up to their machinations once again. I don't think it's going to prosper.
Senator, what would your advice be for Senator Bato de la Rosa at this point?
I would advise him to man up. After all, he was chief of the PNP. And was promoted in rapid time by President Duterte, and he claimed that he would like to be with the old man, and at the same time, he really is looking for help from the PMA when they have what they call the honor code, which is not to lie, to cheat, to steal, or to tolerate anybody from doing all those things. What do I think of that? I mean, obviously, he has run out of honor. He has run out of loyalty to the Republic. I don't think we should listen to him anymore, and I think he should be immediately arrested, and he can be arrested legally.
And in the absence of a TRO from the Supreme Court, Senator, the executive has now taken a clearer position on the status of Senator Bato. The DOJ has tagged him as a fugitive from justice. But what is your take on the power and the role of the executive here? Do they have the power to enforce this warrant, or should they wait for all legal remedies to be exhausted first by the camp of the senator?
I think that they can immediately in the first act of the Supreme Court, when they did not issue the PRO requested, and later on formally said that he can now be arrested, I think that's a signal enough, and that's why I think the DOJ is already implementing it. I think earlier on, I think the executive has already ordered the NBI, although they denied. I think there's no proof that there was an order. The NBI is not going to act on its own on a very, very serious and controversial matter. They went there to arrest, and they were arresting a man who could be convicted of and sentenced to 40 years or reclusion perpetua, and they cannot use the Senate as a shield or a fortress to defend the guilty.
And Senator, were you pleased now that the executive, the government, has taken a clearer stance on arresting Senator Bato de la Rosa? Because for quite some time, we weren't really sure. The DOJ has said it would be more prudent to just wait for the Supreme Court's decision. But now it seems they are clear, and a manhunt has even been ordered already for the senator.
And prudence and liberality and is employed, it becomes tolerance. And when you have tolerance, people get upset to the fact that why are these people getting away with violation of law, scandalously doing all these acts that happen in the Senate? I think that the people are not going to tolerate that anymore. And I don't think we should. I think he should really be arrested on site. And I think it behooves all the barangays in this country to be on the lookout, all the people to be on the lookout, and cooperate with the authorities so that he can be arrested. Because I think the next step will be there will be other people involved in the heinous crimes of killing people, violating the humanitarian laws. I think it's important that this guy be arrested right away, and so that the other criminals involved will be arrested.
Senator, what is your take on the defense's argument there that it must pass through local courts first, and they should be answerable to our local justice system instead of surrendering a Filipino to a foreign international court?
I did the law. I sponsored it. I was interpolated on it for days and hours on end, and the law is very clear. The authorities may surrender or extradite suspected or accused persons to the appropriate international court, if any, or to another state pursuant to the applicable extradition laws and treaties. We have the treaty, the ICC was violated, or the Rome Statute was violated. Even if we withdrew. Besides, take a look at this. Again, I always say this. Why would Duterte unilaterally withdraw? He withdrew from the Rome Statute the moment Judge Sabio filed cases against him in the ICC. And when he did that, there were already maybe a couple of years that he's been violating the law. And so it would be to his benefit if the country withdrew and he did not even consult the Senate. So all these things show that they were guilty. And now they're doing all kinds of delays and all kinds of strategies to delay. I think that the people know that these guys have to be prosecuted already. And the law will be followed.
And now, Senator, going back to the Senate as an institution, how would you describe the Senate under the leadership of Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano?
Well, you call that leadership? I mean, our country has really ruined the Senate. The Senate is at its nadir because it's supposed to be the bastion of law creating. It's supposed to be the bastion of decency, of integrity, loyalty, and constitutionality. And what has been happening is a lot of double talk, a lot of lies, and people trying to get away, or people letting people get away with it. So, in addition to all the things that have been filed against some senators who think that they're above the law, and actual cases have been filed, and in fact, some of them have been, the previous ombudsman tried. This has happened to our country. I belong to that institution, and we try to uphold the integrity and decency and the dignity of the Senate, and I think it's gone. Now, the only way we can recover that is to make sure now that the law is enforced, that people who are supposed to be convicted or prosecuted be prosecuted, and the final thing should be not just the impeachment, but people voting for the right people, taking it seriously, and making sure that the people they elect have those qualities of qualification, integrity, loyalty, and decency.
I wanted to focus on the issue of the impeachment, Senator. How can our senators use this as a way to prove that they are after accountability, they are out for justice, in order to restore the Senate's credibility and prestige?
Well, this is a challenge to all those, even those who have been accused of doing, bad things. It's important that people see and the people will perceive if they're not doing their job. And when the people see that, you know that what has happened previously when people saw that there was cheating in 1986 when the people in the counting machines walked out, and that paved the way for the EDSA revolution. And then later on in the Senate during the trial of Estrada, people saw that there were dilly-dallying on the envelopes. Well, people spoke out on the streets, and we were lucky. I hope we're lucky again this time that there was no violence, and I think eventually, I hope the people in the Senate will see that and they hearken to the people's emotions that are already being stroked so much now that ang tao galit na galit na, and if they don't recognize that, then again, it's called impunity.
But for you, Senator, what do you think this impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte will come down to? Because some analysts have pointed out, at the end of the day, an impeachment is still a numbers game. It's a political game. And in the end, the senators will be voting.
Well, that sounds right, but it's not really completely right. Impeachment is a quest for justice. That's why it's a special way upon which people can go up against the highest people in the land, and that's reserved for the highest people in the land. And that's why the people who were elected in the Senate were supposed to be men of honor and dignity and decency are trying it. It is my hope, and I know it's a forlorn hope, that these people will see by the tremendous plethora of evidence that is going to be presented that they act with justice. If they don't, then they're really taking a chance. And I'm still hoping and praying that, if some of them are guilty, this is a chance now to show that they will do the right thing, and maybe people will be more, not tolerant, but certainly will see that their conscience is still around, and people might have a favorable notion of their reputation and their actions.
And if we're to ask you, Senator, how strong do you think are the articles of impeachment that the House prosecutors have prepared in this trial of Vice President Sara Duterte? You have allegations of unexplained wealth, misuse of confidential funds, bribery, and grave threats.
I've been in the Blue Ribbon Committee for 12 years. And if you look at the resolutions or the conclusions that I filed, we went all the way to those people who are guilty. Unfortunately, this is a country, like I said, and you said, that it becomes political and people think about their re-election and people think about their compadrazgo, their friendship. And when they do that, they really violate the law to the highest order. The Senate is supposed to be a sacred institution. That's why they called it in the old times, Senatus Populusque Romano, the Senate and the people of Rome, which means that they represent the people and that they should act accordingly. And I feel that with the plethora of evidence presented in the investigations by the House, and the House has done superlatively well, especially under Jervy Luistro, I think the evidence is so strong. Number one, unexplained wealth will easily be proven just by a comparison of the wealth in the past with the current wealth that they have. I think that the other accusations will easily be proven because there is indeed a lot of evidence that have been gathered, and I think they should they can escape the Senate, but they cannot escape the justice demanded by the people, and the people are the ones on trial here. If we just keep quiet and allow these people to violate the law again with impunity and not do what they're supposed to do, then I think the people in their ultimate conscience and knowledge and experience will do what must be done.
Well, and finally, senators are eyeing July 6 as the start of the trial for the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. What is one thing, Senator, that the senator judges must keep in mind once they begin the trial proper against VP Sara Duterte?
It's long been forgotten. Their duty. They have to do their duty, irrespective of their ties, their previous loyalties. They have to listen and act as judges of the people. And I remind you, July was named after Julius Caesar, who was assassinated in the Senate. And on July the 6th, we will see if the senators will assassinate democracy in this country.
Okay, we're going to leave that there. Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. That was former Senator Richard Gordon. Thank you very much, sir. Now, don't go away. We still have more matters to discuss right after this break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. More than 2,000 families are trying to pick up the pieces after a massive fire hit Parola compound in Manila. And now let's get the latest from our mobile journalist Francis Rivera, who's reporting live from Tondo. Francis, kamusta na ang sitwasyon dyan?
Morning, Lean, tayo daw yung tungas Parola. Makikita.
All right, Francis, we're having trouble hearing you. We're going to try to fix that so you can continue your report. Can you hear me okay now, Francis? All right, well,
Hello?
we will be... Francis, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Francis. You can try.
Okay. Pawi, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, go ahead, please, Francis.
Sa likod ko, halos wala nang mabigas. Puro yero na lamang at ayos yung mga pundasyon na lang din ng mga tahanan. No? At siyempre, may kabila na halos itong kinakatayuan ko is itong bahay. Pero halos bubong na lamang yung natira at yung pader na lang mismo. No? At yung ibang mga residente dito sa Parola Tondo ay nandoon nakait evacuation kung saan niya tuloy-tuloy naman yung pagdating ng mga pagkain, mga damit, no, mga donasyon mula dun sa mga NGO and dito sa LGU ng Maynila. At kanina nadaanan niya natin yun at napakadaming tao, no, doon sa may evacuation center. At doon binibigyan naman sila ngayon ng paunang almusal. No, at kanina nga no, may mga naka-hospitalized so nananawagan sila na sana daw kahit paano matulungan sila kahit paano sa mga pangailangan nila gaya nga lang ng damit at mga pagkain. Awi?
All right, thank you very much for that update. That was mobile journalist Francis Rivera reporting live from Tondo. At 61 years old, Emerson Obiena is proving there is still room to learn, compete, and win. The father of pole vault star EJ Obiena bagged 5 gold medals and the male MVP award in this year's Philippine Masters Athletics Championships. Mobile journalist Denise Valdez Sancho has that story.
For more than 2 decades, 61-year-old Emerson Obiena has never really stepped away from the sport. And in this year's Philippine Masters Athletics Championships, the father of two-time Olympian and Asian pole vault champion EJ Obiena delivered the most successful campaign of his career, sweeping 5 gold medals and claiming the male MVP award.
4 throwing events, hammer throw, discus throw, shot put, and javelin throw. And then 1 jumping event, the pole vault.
A pole vaulter and a decathlete, Obiena has now found a new love later in life, the throwing events. And for him, it's not about holding on to the past. It's about discovering that there is still room to learn and still room to grow.
Parang yung mastery, kahit na medyo late na meron pa rin eh. I mean, yeah, the strength syempre is slowly fading away, but yung skill, yung skill, may ano pa rin, natututunan pa rin.
While many athletes his age have already walked away from the competition, Obiena continues to train, driven by his passion for coaching. For him, staying active is part of the responsibility of teaching the next generation.
I started coaching from the grassroots, paakyat hanggang sa elite. So, during that time, if you want to be a grassroots coach, you should be able to demonstrate at least yung event na tinuturo mo.
But more than medals or titles, these competitions have become a way for him to rediscover his love for the sport. A reminder that even after years of wear and tear, there is still joy in trying something new.
I mean, okay, if you're a former sprinter or you're a former jumper, but then medyo sinisingil ka na nung mga dati mong event, hindi na ganun kaganda yung joys mo para sa ganung event. Try other events. There are lots of events na pwede nilang matutunan and ma-enjoy pa rin.
At 61, Emerson Obiena may no longer be chasing personal bests. But through every throw, every training session, and every athlete he guides, his passion for the sport continues to evolve. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho, We are One News.
And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Kapatid, we are One News. All sides, all the time.